Today it is finally time to give my Paradox starters their final evolution. We've learned so much since the start of this challenge, and I can safely say that I've gotten a lot better at drawing these Pokemon. Will these first 7 designs be the best ones we've seen so far? I'll let you be the judge of that. Our first evolution is for Sharpened Gunk. We started out by adding the features we used for the first 2 stages, like the pink back spikes, the tusks, and we gave him those tiny claws. I do have to say that it was actually quite difficult to bring back the tusks into the design, since there was one big detail which the first 2 stages didn't have. The tongue. We decided to give his tongue a lot of spikes to make it feel like he could stick to things, pretty similar to a cat's tongue. It is kind of funny that we're already noticing the difference between making final stages and making the first or even the second stages. The design of the third evolutions is a lot more complicated, which sometimes makes it difficult to add more details into it. For the colors of the body, I thought it would be a cool idea to make it slightly darker with each evolution. It also helped the pink color stand out a lot more. Greninja does add another accent color to the palette, but I decided not to use it in order to keep the dark aesthetic. Stealthy Toxin, the Paradox Pokemon. Evolution made this Pokemon one of the most cunning and patient yet violent creatures in Area 0. It can move at astonishing speeds, but can also stand very still, making absolutely no sound to ambush its opponents. It creates star-shaped weapons from the poisonous spikes on its body, which it can throw with enough force to pierce a large boulder. I think we've created a good third member for this evolution line. It definitely still resembles Greninja, and we were able to use all the design features we used on the first 2 stages. The second evolution for today is for Iron Wing. I can already tell you we made a big mistake for this piece. I had an incredibly cool concept in mind, but I totally forgot that I was supposed to fit it in the evolution line. My goal for the Decidueye was to make him look like a ghostly electric type with translucent legs. We even built out this concept until the point of coloring, but at that point I realized that we went in the wrong direction. Even though it is a very cool design, it just completely ignores the features of the first 2 stages. We also gave him quite a few details, which made him look a bit more like a past form as well. I didn't want to make a new concept, because I do still think it's a pretty cool Paradox form. We eventually decided that we might be able to bring back at least some evolution line feeling by changing his colors to fit the first 2 more. Iron Archer, the Paradox Pokemon. Upon evolving, this Pokemon turns into a vicious hunter. It uses its intelligence for dealing with its prey. The eyes of this Pokemon seem to be able to focus to the point of perfectly seeing 30 kilometers away. They're able to hear the most quiet of sounds in their surroundings. Once they detect their prey, they shoot out a spirit-like lightning bolt, which takes out even the biggest Pokemon. We're thinking that the same energy it uses to attack keeps them awake at all times as well. Like I said, this design is pretty cool, but if we're talking about an evolution line, I really failed on this one. We did make this piece before almost all the second stages, which helped us a lot to make most of my designs a lot better. Up next is the evolution for Iron Scourge. This was one of those very easy drawings. I knew exactly where I wanted to go with this concept, since the first 2 stages laid it out perfectly. My goal for Skellydirge was to make him into a well-experienced jet-fueled rocket blaster. We tried to achieve this by making him look balanced on his jets, unlike his second stage. The other changes were kinda easy, because Skellydirge already looks quite robot-like. We brought the segmented arms back and turned his hands into blasters. This already looked a lot like the wanted result, combined with the jets as legs. We then just simply had to make sure to add a lot of areas where we would be able to display the lights on. When we added in the colors, the piece really started to come together. We did decide to leave out the purple color on its nose, since I thought the design already looked quite busy. I think that if we kept the purple color in there, it would have only distracted us from the rest of the design. Oh yeah, we also made his bird like a little cute robot. Iron Inferno, the Paradox Pokemon. The energy which was contained as an egg in a Pokemon's previous stage now powers up a small device that it uses for tracking purposes. The drone is easily able to keep up with Iron Inferno's speed and sends the scanned information through radio waves. Research shows that despite this Pokemon being very ferocious while battling, it is actually very caring to its drone and previous stages. I love this piece so much. I know some of you find it annoying that I keep complimenting myself, but you have to understand that I wasn't able to make these type of pieces a few months ago. I'm just so happy with the progress I've made, and guys, I'm really not trying to blow my own horn. For our fourth evolution, we're going to take care of Fierce Flower. This was a very interesting design to make, since we had to combine the fierceness of a dragon type and the bubbliness of fairy ones. I tried to achieve the fierceness by making his facial expressions look a bit mean and by giving him quite a few teeth. We also added a few more spikes onto his neck to make him look more intimidating and dangerous. I decided that we could achieve the fairy type feeling by making his flower look a bit more rounded. I did this because round shapes are mostly used to describe friendlier designs, while sharp and pointy edges usually give off more intimidating energy. Even though this won't be a grass type anymore, I still felt like he needed to keep the flower around his neck. I think this isn't too far-fetched, because there are a lot of animals in real life who do the exact same thing. We decided to go off of the colors of Fierce Flower instead of the colors of Meganium. We did this because otherwise it would have still looked too much like a grass type, and now it fits the evolution line better. Craving Giant, the Paradox Pokemon. In ancient times they were one of the most ferocious predators. They are very good at camouflaging themselves regardless of their big size. Even though this Pokemon is very strong, it can still be defeated by larger groups of Pokemon, since its attacks are mostly focused on one target at a time. I wouldn't really say this is my favorite line, because I do still think they're quite forgettable. I'm not sure if that is because my designs weren't good enough, or if that was the issue of the original Pokemon. Our next evolution is for Iron Wake. I wanted to do something different for this piece. Mega Swampert is my favorite design out of all the designs in the entire franchise. It makes me quite sad that I might not be able to ever see it back in the games. This is why I decided to base this evolution onto Mega Swampert instead of the regular one. I knew I could do that because they did the exact same thing for Roaring Moon. This means that it will also have a higher stat total than the other final stages I made. The design itself went by pretty easily, because if you look at the regular design, it already has a lot of robotic features. I was able to add onto it by making his arms look a bit segmented and by adding a few lines into the design, which gave it a lot of depth. Take the lines above his eyes for example. They are just simple straight lines, but it instantly looks more 3D. I was biased about this design from the start, but I fell in love so hard when I dropped in the colors. The mix between the robotic shapes and colors and the colors of regular Swampert makes it look incredible. I also tried to make the shading look a bit more reflective than I usually do, and I think that finished up the design perfectly. Iron Bulk, the Paradox Pokemon. This Pokemon is designed to assist as effectively as possible during disasters related to water, like floods, dam breaks, or mudslides. With its immense strength, it can easily move rubble and debris. Even though this Pokemon is not a water type anymore, it still swims at extremely high speeds. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I'm going to top this design, at least for me. The sixth evolution is for Iron Blade. I don't really have too much to say about this design. We just repeated all the steps we did for the first two forms. I did swap the swords away from its neck because I didn't think they would fit there anymore. I definitely wanted to keep that element, so I brought it back at the tip of its tail. At the end, this design was just meant to become a snake, built out of segments, and I think we've nailed that concept. The colors are just the same as the middle stage, but the shine is where this piece actually shines. Iron Serpent, the Paradox Pokemon. The tail of this Pokemon is strong enough to cut through steel objects. However, they usually use it to groom themselves, cutting away imperfect pieces of steel to make unique patterns. In battle for territory, these Pokemon compare each other's style instead of traditional battles. The Iron Serpent with the longest and most unique patterns is most likely to win. I am actually quite happy with this piece. It isn't necessarily the most unique thing you ever see, but I think it works just right. Last but not least, we'll take care of the evolution of Burning Claws. I got a lot of requests to keep this line quadrupedal, and I really tried to do so. I tried tweaking the pose of Torracat, but it kept looking like a fusion between the two instead of their own Pokemon. I spent around 1.5 hours of trying, but I just wasn't able to pull it off, so I'm sorry guys, maybe next time. However, I did make another design. I knew I would have to make it one of the best ones you've ever seen, because I just know you guys otherwise wouldn't forgive me. The goal for this piece was to make him look a lot hairier and to finish him off with incredibly big burning arms. Now that I was going to give him burning arms, I didn't want to keep the fire belt as well. I thought it would be cool to replace the fire belt with one made out of coal. This would fit his part ground type and it would work perfectly together with the fire. My idea for this Pokemon was that it would burn the coal and throw it at his enemies. Once I put in all these specific details, it was time to put in the colors. I decided to go for slightly darker variants again, and I think he looks awesome combined with the coal. Blazing Belt. That Paradox Pokemon. Most researchers say that this Pokemon can't create fire at will. It can only generate enough bomb through a lot of physical work. As a result, they tend to use strong and heavy moves to build up their fire faster. They carry cool belts on them to train their endurance and to help the fire spread faster to their bodies and the bodies of their enemies. I am still kinda sad I wasn't able to pull off the quadrupedal cat, but I do have to say that this design cheered me up quite a lot. Well, these were the first 7 final stages, just 20 more to go. Let me know which one was your favorite, and goodbye.